A week ago, we spent over $500 on a brand new version of an old Lego vintage airport set, and it is awesome. We've been working on creating basically a modern version of it in the week since. More on that in a minute. But last week we did post an airport reel showing you guys exactly what this set has inside. So if you didn't catch that, let me show you that first, and then we'll dive into the rest of this video. We just spent over $500 on a Lego set from 20 years ago. That's right, we bought one of our favorite Lego airport sets from when we were kids, and it's crazy to think it's over 20 years old now. Upon opening, everything looks to be in good shape, even the stickers and instructions. The set is filled with retired parts, just like the old hinges that are greatly missed as they had really cool functionality. The minifigs were also dated, and all of the vehicles are super tiny because they're only 4 wide. I must say though, this is probably one of the most accurate passenger plane shapes that Lego ever released. Definitely better than the modern sets, and it also has a really cool way to access the seating. The build itself was a lot of fun, and it brought back a lot of nostalgia with the old style Lego sets with simple layouts and furniture and funky builds like these helicopters. I wish Lego would bring back cool architectural elements like these windows and more realistic planes in the future airport sets. Let us know in the comments if you agree, and if you think modern Lego planes could use a redesign to be similar to their 20-year-old counterparts, because... So anyway, that was the short that we posted last week, and it kind of is a bummer that we have to do so many YouTube shorts, but that's just kind of the way that the algorithm is working these days. They want short form content. But anyway, here is a longer video kind of giving you an in-depth overview of this set, and then I want to talk at the end about what we kind of have in store, so make sure you stay tuned. So this was one of our favorite sets from when we were kids, and it's from 2004, and as you can tell, it's definitely a lot different feel than modern Lego sets. It has that old classic feel, which we kind of honestly love, including the classic minifigs, which are just hilarious when you compare them to modern minifigs, especially with the faces, because there's just not a lot of detail. They were very simple back then. But anyway, the set itself is really cool. It comes with this helicopter that has the old hinge-style doors, which are a lot easier to open than the modern doors. And it has other cool old parts like these windows that were used on the control tower, which I don't think these exist anymore, at least I haven't seen them in a long time. And then the vehicles themselves are all 4 wide, which is the old Lego standard for vehicles, including the plane. The plane's only 4 wide, the helicopter's only 4 wide, and even the ground crew, which is all built to 4 wide as well. So it was really interesting to see that there wasn't different sizing variations based on the vehicle's size or what they're used for. It's basically just all 4 wide all around. I mean, even like the little tiny cars used for moving baggage, like look at how small this thing is. If I compare it actually to one of the modern sets, like let's use the Land Rover, for example, that just came out, which is 6 wide, you can see the size comparison here. And just look at how big this is compared to the airport behind it. I mean, it's wild to see how sizes have evolved in only 20 years. The airport also sits on the old style base plates, which these don't exist anymore. And so it's really interesting seeing those for the first time in a while. The airplane as well is probably, as mentioned in the short, one of the best airplane shapes that we've seen. I mean, some of the newer ones that Lego's put out just honestly aren't that realistic in our opinion. So it'd be really cool to see them bring back, you know, kind of more realistic airplane shapes that we're all used to flying on rather than ones that they kind of come up with. The airport itself, it's very basic, but it's also really cool at the same time. I mean, it brought back a lot of nostalgia, and it's just that classic Lego look, right? It's like what you saw in all the old city sets, the old police stations, the old fire stations, the old hospitals, the old airports. Even the inside is super basic. It's just seats and like little tiny accessories here and there, but it's honestly super basic, especially compared to some of the bigger sets that you see nowadays. And the last thing I want to touch on before we show you guys what we've been working on is the box, because the box was really interesting as well, and apparently these go for a lot of money online. So you have the front, which is kind of normal. It had obviously a really nice image of the set, and it kind of gave you that playability factor that was with all the old classic Lego sets. But when you flip it over, the backside was super cool, and I wish modern sets did this. They had a bunch of different designs and layouts that you could do if you just mixed around the bricks. And it's super cool to see kind of what the Lego engineers came up with back in the day. And I wish modern sets showed you different build options, because I think this is super cool and how they do it on the back here. But anyway, let me show you guys what we've now been working on. We were approached about doing a joint venture with a group who specializes in kind of recreating nostalgic old Lego sets, and what they do is they bring it back to life with modern bricks. And it's a super cool idea, and so we're thinking about doing this joint venture with them. But basically, using this set as an example, if I flip over to one of the test builds. All right, so coming back to this design that I showed you guys earlier. So as you can see, this is basically a modern version of that old set that we were just reviewing. And the way that it's laid out is it's using all modern bricks. So if you look closely, using like the palm trees as an example, it uses modern bricks that are easy to find rather than the old style palm trees, which are becoming harder and harder to find. And if I go over to the plane, for example, all of these parts are new parts. They're all released within the last 5 to 10 years. Like you can even see the old hinges have been replaced with a newer style. So basically, this whole set has been recreated using modern parts. And if the modern parts didn't exist, like for example, the radar, it was recreated using just bricks. Or as another example, the garage elements. So normally these were blue in the original set. Those are hard to find and pretty expensive. So they're swapped to white here because they're a lot easier to find, but you still get the garage element. And with the windows, for example, these were released up until last year. And the windows over here, for example, they're white instead of light gray because it's easier to find. But I mean, it still gives you pretty much the feel of the old set. We've even got the interior details, and we added some things like, new windows on the side to just enclose it a little bit more. But for the most part, this set is preserved as it was back in 2004. We used some modern printed tiles that you find in various road plate sets nowadays. And we used just, some of the more modern tiles like the 2x6s for the runway. And then instead of base plates, we used the 16x16 just normal plates. But again, it creates a really cool throwback to that set. The only one that we're still kind of working on is the control tower. In my opinion, it's not exactly there yet. Unfortunately, a lot of the parts used for this are hard to find and really expensive. So this one in particular is still being worked on. But overall, I mean, I think it looks pretty darn good compared to, what we just showed you guys and what the set used to look like. So that is one option. Now, let me show you something else we've been working on. Okay, so thinking back to the layout of the set, right? So look at this real quick, and then let me flip back to the set as it was. As you can see, you had the runway, and then you had the building behind it. Okay, so coming back to right here. Now, another idea is to take classic sets and basically modernize them. So instead of having a 4-wide plane, we'd have a properly sized plane. Instead of having an airport that, is basically open on the backside and definitely more of like the classic Lego look, this would be a more realistic minifig airport. It's kind of hard to see, but basically there are interior details. There's seating inside, and then there's like, the stands for where you check into your flight and all that stuff. And then we basically increased the bays to do 2 double garages for where the baggage claim is. And then on the front side, there's an entrance, and basically it's just a fully built out airport compared to, the more classic, basic style Lego set. And so what's cool about this is you still get the nostalgia of the older sets, but they're modernized for modern Lego cities. There's even, helicopter pad, still 2 stories. And overall, if I flip back again, it still kind of has the same feel as the first airport, but flipping back, it's just a little bit more modern. And obviously, we don't have the runway in here yet, and we don't have some of the, landscaping and everything else. But this is the question for you guys. If you were to get instructions from us, or if you were to build something in your own city like this, do you prefer more of the classic Lego layout and something that brings back nostalgia for you? Like, would you be, more interested in reliving one of those old sets? Or would you be more interested in adding something like this to your city where it is modernized and fits in well with the modern Lego building style, but it still pays, our respect to the old sets of back in the day? So let us know in the comments because we're super interested. Again, this is a joint venture that we're exploring. It's not necessarily something that we're for sure going to release, but if we do, we'd love to hear your guys' feedback on these first 2 drafts and just see what you guys think overall before we get too far into the weeds. So anyway, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the old set from 20 years ago, as well as some of the stuff that we've been working on. Let us know in the comments because we will be reading all the feedback. And make sure you like and subscribe if you don't already. But that's it for today's video. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.